All right, good afternoon. This is the regularly scheduled meeting of the Public Safety, Civil Rights, and Emergency Management Committee. My name is Belong Yang. I'm the chair of this committee. With me today are Council Members Palmisano, Gordon, and Council President Johnson. We are a quorum of this committee and we can conduct its business. I want to note that Council Members Reich and Quincy are not here today and that they are on city business. Today we have 4 items on the agenda. 3 of those items are consent items. The first item is a 2016 Urban Scholars Program funding for partner organizations. And this is to receive an amount of money for professional services and wages. The second item is a contract with the Twin Cities or Twins Ballpark LLC for bomb detection security services at Target Field for an amount of $26,000. The third item is a Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension Joint Powers Agreement for the Criminal Justice Data Communications Network and Court Data Services Subscriber Amendment to the CJDN Agreement. And the fourth item, which is a discussion item, is a body camera update report. And so, council members, with that, we have 3 items on consent. Anyone want to pull anything off for discussion? Right, seeing none, we will vote on the consent items. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, the motion carries. All right, the fourth item is a body camera update report, and with us today is Deputy Chief Glampy, who will be giving us a short report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, council members. Quick update where we're at. We are actually going to be, based on everything we've seen in the last couple of weeks, we're going to be rolling these cameras out the week of June 27th, and that all has to do with the complexities of our scheduling cycle. We work on a 28-day cycle, and in order to have surety, we have to schedule days, specific training days where officers are going to be working, and our deadline for doing that would have been actually last week. We just received product in yesterday, and as you probably know, the legislature is actually moving on a body camera bill. So we really weren't in a position to lock in training days only to tell officers, sorry, we're not going to train. We know for sure by June 27th, when that new cycle starts, we're going to be able to bring, schedule those training days and bring officers in. So a couple quick updates. We received our product in just yesterday down into the business technologies unit. So we have cameras in hand, docking stations in hand that we can start to install those. And then also with the legislature moving, our IGR staff is actually over at the Capitol and have been working over the past couple weeks. And with the session ending on Monday, we're going to know real quickly what state law might exist, and if it does, what provisions we're going to have to actually write into our policy.
Deputy Chief Glampy, is the plan still to roll out month to month from precinct to precinct?
Mr. Chair, yes, that's correct. We're still going to go month by month. Even last week, trying to work on install at the one of the precincts, our engineers came back and said, well, you can't put those loading docks there. The heat load is too much. So we even have to bring in the city property services folks to help us find the right spot to install these things. It's not just a matter of walking in, plugging them in, and walking away. So really, we're going to continue that precinct by precinct, month by month rollout to make sure we get everything right the first time.
Right. Council members, any questions of Deputy Chief Glampy? Councilmember Gordon?
I'm just curious about when we're going to get to see the next draft of the police body cam policy. There's been a lot of discussion about that. There's been a lot of feedback and input. We've had some internal meetings where our understanding was some of the recommendations that came from those community meetings might be incorporated into the new policy. And I was hopeful we'd see it today. It looks like we're not going to see it today, but I think the sooner we can see it and get it published online, the better. And I would say if the state decides to add something and so we have to fix it, we can certainly do that at any time they decide to do that and the governor signs anything.
So, Mr. Chair, Councilmember Gordon, right now waiting on the state to figure out what they may do. And at that point, then it's going to be up to the chief to make that decision on what she wants to have as a finality coming out of her office. But we also realize that on June 8th, there's a planned public hearing with this very committee. So it's going to still be in draft form at that point, because we don't want to say this is our final policy and then take public comment over here. We want the public comment to mean something. So we are going to hopefully have something a little more concrete after next Monday, when the chief has the ability to fully review, consult with who she wants to and needs to, and then go forward looking at June 8th and any other public comment we get in between now and then.
So this, is the session done on the 23rd? When is the last day? Monday? Okay. So I think it would be wonderful to have something a few days ahead of the 8th, even if it's just draft 2. It seems like there's probably a lot of work and some decisions, and people have been hashing, the chief and her deputies have probably been hashing out potential changes. So just, you could maybe carry back at least my belief that getting something sooner is much better than later. And then if the session's done on the 23rd, then we should know what they are doing, if anything. So that will give plenty of time to get something out, hopefully by the 30th or the 31st, so people can have at least 8 days to review it before the public hearing, give or take.
Council members, any other questions? Councilmember Palmisano.
Mr. Chair, one component of the body camera law in the House, and I believe in the Senate too, is the requirement to have a public hearing. So any changes that we would be making. So my question or my curiosity is, this public hearing on June 8th would suffice for any kind of state law compliant policy that we'd be putting forward. Is that true?
I don't know. At this point, with the bills not being law yet, I'm not quite sure if we can answer that, but I would hope that would be the case, that it would suffice to meet the requirements.
Okay.
All right, seeing no other, Councilmember Gordon, you're a little bit unsure of yourself.
No, this
Go
is
ahead.
just a second piece. So have we noticed the public hearing on June 8th, and is that definite now?
Right. So let me try to answer that.
Okay.
At this point, we are talking with MPD, and I want to do what we can to put it on as a public hearing for June the 8th. Obviously, I understand that, with some delays, it could, be pushed out another cycle, but, my expectation is that we'd like to get it onto the 8th.
Because that would just be my other point, as well as getting the next draft early enough for people to see it. The sooner we can set the public hearing and everybody understand the date and the time and the location, the better off it's going to be for people to be able to come. Right. So if we just talked about it today, and it sounds like it's not necessarily set in stone yet.
Right. And so, Deputy Chief Clampy, I want to thank you for this update. I expect that we will have a report on the body cam policy at the next Public Safety Committee meeting, which will be held on the 8th. And, I think sometimes, to put a date out there, it makes us work hard to meet that date. So I think that's a good thing. And we will, at that meeting, hopefully be hosting a public hearing on the body cam policy. Councilmember Palmisano, given the amount of attention that the public is paying to this rollout of the body cams, I think that the city should consider in-depth annual audits of the body cam policy as well. This may be something that you might want to take a look at with your audit committee. And you have comments?
Mr. Chair, I think that's a good suggestion. Myself and Councilmember Gordon were at last Saturday's Police Conduct Oversight Commission's body camera meeting, and it's clear, as is this letter of support from civil rights that I have here in front of me, that there are still a lot of concerns that these boards, who it's their mission, that these are the people to help recommend policy, have with the last draft of the body-worn camera policy they've seen. One of those, there's 6 main concerns they have, and broadly speaking, I think we're going to need to balance the need for consistency and uniformity across the state with the ability for some local controls that we would have over this to help this be a tool of public trust. One thing I took away from that discussion last Saturday was on their concern of policy compliance. The Police Conduct Oversight Commission wants random monthly review of footage, like an audit, and targeted reviews of footage. And I think we could have a conversation in the audit committee to see how they might fit some kind of review or audit of body camera footage in 2017 into that work plan. So after they've been out in the field for 6 months, how are we doing on that compliance to whatever is decided for policy? So I will plan to take that up at audit committee next week.
Okay. Council President Johnson.
Mr. Chair, I just wonder if we're being premature here in the fact that the legislature is acting on body cameras, which is a good thing for everybody across the state of Minnesota. They will determine who has access to, and I haven't not seen the legislation either in the Senate or the House, but I only know what I read in the newspaper. But I just think we're going to have to wait to see what the bill, and it'll go to a conference committee because they obviously have separate bills. But that's going to be, I think, very informative and maybe more restrictive than what we thought. Obviously, the access that's in place now for footage. So anyway, if it passes. But I just think we shouldn't be planning too much until we see what the bill presents us with.
Right, and I agree with that. I also think that there is some time between when the legislature adjourns and the 8th to really try to figure things out. And if we can't figure things out by then, we can certainly delay it. Yeah. All right. So thank you, Deputy Chief Glampy. Council members, I will just ask that we receive and file this. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. The motion carries. And with that, we have disposed of all business before this committee, so we will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.